All right, well, today I wanted to talk about the time I went on a date with a girl who ignored me when I was overweight. Back in 2012, I was very much overweight. At my heaviest, I was between 275 to 300 pounds. At the time, I was about a Norwood 4 with a severely receding hairline that made me look like a fat middle-aged man. At the time, I also couldn't grow any facial hair outside of a soul patch and sparse mustache hair. I also would wear the baggiest clothes imaginable and had zero sense of style. The baggy clothes honestly made me look even worse, to be honest. I wore like very baggy sweatpants, baggy sweatshirts, baggier jackets, thinking that this would kind of help slim me out, but in all reality, it made me look even heavier. What's worse than that is I had a really bad double chin. Even when I smiled, it really looked like I had a triple chin. Looking back at old pictures, I see those pictures and I swear I had the worst double chin in the solar system, like by far. There was a girl that was in one of my classes at the university I was attending at the time. It was an elective class that you take because it seems easy. And I remember trying to talk to this girl multiple times that semester. She sat a few seats down from me. For context, she was decently cute, but nothing special. She was definitely the type of like hipster girl that wore like really dark clothing, and she would change her hair color very frequently. Some months she had purple hair, some months it was brown, and then another month it was black. She had a fairly average face, but she had a really good body. I remember the first time I tried talking to her was just right after class. She was walking ahead of me, and I had said to her, "Wow, that class was really interesting." And she like briefly turned around and then said, "Yeah." And then kept on walking, like looking really confused and kind of like disgusted, like taken back that I tried to talk to her. So about a week later, towards the end of class, I had asked her, "Do you know if we have any homework to do?" I knew there was no homework. It was just my chance of trying to strike up another conversation. This is the crazy part, is she didn't even look up from her desk. And then she just said, I don't know, like really quick and with like zero enthusiasm. This is the kind of treatment you get when you're unattractive. You don't even get the decency of someone even looking you in the eye when you speak to them a lot of the time. That's really when you know that you're unattractive. Back then, I didn't really have much of a concept of, the black pill and lookism and things like that, and how your looks impact every aspect of your life. If this were to happen today, I would never continually try and talk to someone like this. So about a month before the semester ended, I made another attempt at talking with her. As we were getting out of the class, I asked her if she's going to study for the final coming up, and literally, this is like just so crazy, but she just kept on walking. It was just like, it was as if I didn't even like ask her anything. She didn't even look back and answer me. I have a fairly like deep voice, and I definitely know that she heard me. If you've ever been unattractive, you definitely know this feeling of being flat out ignored when you ask a girl or someone a question. They hear what you said. They just are literally so repulsed by you that they just don't even want to give you a second. That's really just how it is. I really think it comes down to women being so repulsed by your appearance. Like if you are someone who's like very overweight, or you're somebody who's overweight and balding, if you have a combination of like bad features, this really gives like women, even men, like a fight or flight response to interacting with you. And a lot of the times they decide to just keep on walking to avoid even having to speak with you for even a second. So on the day of the final, I tell her good luck as she's sitting right next to me. And she just nods her head and says, "Thanks," in a very indifferent, unenthusiastic tone. It was crazy, but like really looking back at old photos, I really did have like a horrific double chin. And I really looked like I was just really ill that year, in 2012. So fast forward to 2021, I had lost a significant amount of weight, going from being like very out of shape, very overweight, to getting to roughly 10 to 12% body fat. During the span of those years, I had 2 hair transplants, which really helped. For context, I was about a Norwood 4, Norwood 3, Norwood 4. I had a really, really bad receding hairline. So in 2012, back then, I would shave my head. Sometimes I would just buzz my head. Other times I would just flat out shave it. And this was by far the worst that I ever looked in the past. So the hair transplants really did a good job of restoring my hairline, and 2, giving me some good density in the front. So it made a massive difference. And another factor that really helped was I was able to grow facial hair. I keep my facial hair is like medium dark brown, and it grows in pretty well. So I keep, a lot of times I keep, between low stubble to about medium stubble. So the good thing about facial hair is, for some people, if you're able to grow like darker stubble and you can contour your facial hair the right way, on top of being low body fat, it actually really does make you look like you have a strong jaw, a stronger chin. In a way, it makes, like, if you kind of cut the facial hair right before the cheek, it makes you appear, if you're low body fat, that you have stronger cheekbones as well. So the combination of all these factors made me look much, much better than I was. Looking back, I was probably about a 3 or a 4 when I was very overweight and bald. And then being realistic of where I was in 2021, I was definitely at least 3 to 4 points higher on the look scale. So I was swiping on Bumble, and I actually came across her profile. I tend to remember people. I have a fairly good memory. I came across her profile. Even 9 years later, I still remembered her very well. When you go through a substantial looks transformation, you pretty much remember every negative interaction you had when you're at your worst. So when I saw her picture and name come across my screen, I got this really euphoric rush of energy, just run up my spine. I stopped and looked at all of her photos, and all those memories came rushing back. And I was hesitant. I didn't know whether I wanted to swipe left or swipe right. She's a fairly cute girl. Nothing, like I said, nothing special. But I swipe right, and to my great surprise, and not surprise, I matched with her. When I matched with her, I definitely felt a combination of being very jaded, but also it was a little bit of life fuel, knowing that the looks maxing I had done over the past several many years had really paid off. Taking a girl who is completely and utterly indifferent and disgusted by my presence to being attracted to my new look. And with Bumble, if you're familiar, the girl has to message you first. So I was curious to see if I was going to get a message from her. And what had happened is she had messaged me, and the first message was a very enthusiastic hey with 8 Y's and couple E's, and what that's like if a girl's ever sent you that before. I had responded back, and we messaged back and forth a little bit. The whole time I was messaging back and forth, it just felt wrong. The whole thing felt wrong. It was so crazy, seeing it that way and kind of seeing for what it was. It definitely wasn't my personality, because I think I think people try to improve their personality over time, and we're not the same person we were 9 years ago. But looking back, I always tried to, I had similar personality traits all in all back then. So it had nothing to do with my confidence, charisma, personality, charm. It was none of that. It was just the fact that, I wasn't bald anymore. I wasn't overweight. I had facial hair, which, accentuated some of my decent facial features. And that's all there really was to it. So it just felt wrong talking to her. Like even over messages, it just felt really wrong. So we messaged back and forth a little bit more over the span of, a couple days. And to my surprise, she actually asked for my Instagram, and, I gave her it. And then we started talking over Instagram. So we agreed to meet at a bar that was in between us. She lives about 20 minutes away from me. So it really wasn't, too difficult to meet up with her. When I was getting ready, I can't tell you how weird that felt to be going on a date with a girl who literally did not give you time of day 9 years prior. And the crazy part is she literally had no idea who I was, and that I had class with her 9 years prior, and that she ignored me for an entire semester. I remember my mom telling me the line back then, like back in 2012, 2013, she said, hey, if a girl doesn't find you attractive when you're bald or when you're overweight, she won't like you even if you did have hair and if you were fit. This was like a line that my mom would say frequently, because I would always talk to her about how I was nervous about going bald and, things like that. And she would always say, oh, you'll be handsome even if you are bald, and girls will still love you. And, it's not about your weight. You got to be confident in yourself, and, people will be attracted to that. Just like very blue pill sayings that parents just love to feed to their kids to make them feel better. But it's so false that it's not even funny. Honestly, I'd rather my mom or like a parent, just basically say, hey, you're a little overweight, you're balding, you should try to fix these things, and you'll be much more attractive. But I just feel like parents always want to kind of sugarcoat things to, not make you feel bad. But like in the long run, it's better to get some kind of tough love so you can really improve yourself and like live a much better life. And I've had great parents. Like, they're very supportive. So like in the moment, I guess it made me feel a little bit better, but I wish they would have, kind of gave me the harsh truth of the world and how the dating market really is. But I digress. So I met her at the restaurant. She was sitting down at the table. I legitimately, when I saw her sitting at the table, I like turned around and I found the bathroom of the restaurant, and I like go into the bathroom. I look in the mirror, and I almost had like a panic attack just from like looking back and seeing how she treated me back then when I wasn't attractive. I like looked in the mirror and I like splashed a bunch of water in my face, and I really just stood there and contemplated like just, leaving and, doing the, standing her up and, having her feel bad and, getting her to recognize that feeling. But something told me to just, go on the date and kind of see how it goes, and, could just go from there. It was interesting. So, we sat down at the table, and, first she gave me a hug. We started talking, and then it came up. So I asked her, where she went to college, and knowing farewell, I went to college with her, and she graduated from the university I went to. And, she told me that she went to the university, and I told her, yeah, I graduated from there too. She had asked what year, and I told her, yeah, you and I were in the, so I pretty much came out and said it. I was like, yeah, you and I were in the same class 9 years ago. And she looked at me with like shock, and she was like, what? No way. Really? What was the class? I then told her what the class was, the class we took, and the professor, and she was like dumbfounded. I told her that I sat right next to her to see what her reaction was, and it was just pure shock and awe. And she said, wow, yeah, like, I don't remember you. I was about to tell her what I looked like, but I decided to just hold back for a bit. In the moment, I was just feeling all sorts of emotions. I was feeling anxiety. I was feeling a little bit of like anger almost. Like the flip of a switch, of somebody being like totally disgusted by you to someone that is like very interested in you. It's a very bizarre thing to experience, you know. I feel like with most attractive people, as an example, they've kind of gone their whole lives being attractive, and they may not have had that period where, you know, they were overweight, or, you know, they were balding. They kind of had, you know, the good genetics their entire lives. But it was just really weird. I think my hand was shaking. It was just a very anxiety inducing date, to put it lightly. So yeah, we continued to, you know, have a few drinks, and then we went to a bar nearby, where she then asked me if she wanted to check out her place. She was talking about, you know, the art she was working on, and at the university she was an art. I think she was a art major, and I think she had a minor in like music as well. But she was talking about her art, and I told her I used to draw, and, you know, she invited me back. We go back to her place, and we decided to watch a movie. We actually watched the Elton John movie, and it was like the Elton John like musical movie that came out. I think it was like back in 2019 or 2018. It was a great movie. But during the movie, you know, we started holding hands. We started to make out. We made out for a while. And the craziest thing is she took my hand and she walked me up the stairs to her bedroom. And from there, we it happened pretty quick, but we got down to business. And after that, I ended up falling asleep in her bed. And I'll tell you, it was extremely strange having sex with somebody that found you extremely unattractive in the past. I literally experienced both sides of her, the complete disgust and disinterest, and then the genuine burning desire side, as Mr. Richard Cooper calls it. And then around 3 a.m., you know, I woke up. I was looking at her, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. I was just like at that point where I'm like, you know what? Like, I just wanted to leave. I just said to myself, like, hey, this isn't a person I want to, you know, date long term. This was like, it was a very bizarre experience. And I got up in the middle of the night, and I walked out and headed to my car. And yeah, the next morning she texted me. I didn't respond, and she texted me a few times over the next week, and I made it a point to ignore her. Like, I wanted to, you know, make her feel like the way I felt when I tried to talk to her, you know, those many times in the class, and she wouldn't give me the time of day. And I hate to say it, but it was a really cool feeling to ignore someone like that, because, you know, she really ignored me in the past, and that really hurt back then. You know, I wish I could say I told her off, or I left her with the bill at the restaurant, but yeah, that's the story. Hopefully this will give you a little bit of life fuel, knowing that there are ways you can improve your looks, especially if you're overweight, especially if you are losing your hair. There is some hope. You know, it does come down to, you know, your bone structure at the end of the day. It does come down to things like your height and, you know, other factors. But if you are someone that's really overweight, or, you know, you have lost a good amount of hair, just know that there are options out there, and you can, you know, lose the weight. You can get your hair back if you really want, and it's going to take a lot of hard work. It's going to take a lot of dedication. But if you really want to improve your appearance, you absolutely can. It may take years, but I can tell you that, you know, if you do improve your appearance, you know, something like this could happen. You know, someone who may have been definitely not been attracted to you in the past, they're going to be much more attracted to you. And obviously that's not the person you want to be with. But when you do look smacks, and you do, you know, get to a point where, you know, you do increase your attractiveness by a few points, the world just treats you much better and much nicer, and you get to live a much better life. Well, if you've enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like, feel free to subscribe, and until next time, take care.